Yeah, I mean, I don't honestly know how YouTube ended up in this position where they're considered just like the gold standard of like a video sharing platform. That doesn't seem like an idea that should have such a monopoly on it. How do you think they ended up in this position where they are just like it's just like YouTube? And that's the style of video. We describe it as the career. It's become like the place for video content.
I think it's something that happens fairly commonly with these Silicon Valley companies. I think it's typically actually an explicit plan where basically their goal is to corner a market, providing a service where they're losing money, essentially providing a service that's as good as possible with this expectation that once they've cornered a market, they can sort of start to turn the screws. And I think we've seen that in terms of how they've treated a lot of their creators, as well as how they're treating their users. I mean, to me, it's either they regard what they're doing as like just pure profit maximizing. It's also possible that there's, there's an ideological bent to the people who work at YouTube. I think that's possible as well. But I think a lot of it's just, they feel that they're the, 800-pound gorilla. You're kind of stuck with them and they don't have to care about you as much as maybe they did in the past.
So they're in that position and now they don't have to pander anymore. So why don't we go back a little bit before we start getting into all the specifics? Like, what is LBRY? Like, why was it founded? Why did you guys see that there was a reason to even try and challenge YouTube's monopoly? And where did it all come from?
So LBRY is an open source blockchain based publishing protocol. That's a complicated sentence. Another way that we put it is it does to publishing what Bitcoin does to money. And I can get into what that specifically means from a technical sense if you want to. But what's most important is probably to understand the properties. And what that means is you have a level of control that's unprecedented compared to alternatives. So on the LBRY system, you can truly own your channel. It can't be taken away from you. The network is decentralized. So there's not one point of failure. There's not one point of control. And it's all open source. So if we ever become the evil bad guy, which would involve, brainworms taking over me or something like that, but let's pretend it happens, there's this ability for the community or for anyone in the world to pick it up and build a better version. So we've built all this in a way where we've almost handcuffed ourselves. We've kind of designed the system so that even in that scenario where imagine that it was the traditional sort of Silicon Valley startup play of like corner the market and turn the screws, that can't happen here because you're not trapped. That the way that you're sort of locked in to serve to the major social media services is literally not possible in this case. It actually turns it almost a little bit more into something like email. No, that's not the sexiest comparison, but in the sense that you can use a different client than I can use, and we're still able to interoperate. There's not that lock-in into you can only, imagine if email only worked via Gmail, it would be a much different system than the way that email works currently. And so we've kind of done that with video publishing where Odyssey is the best, easiest way to use it, but you're not locked into Odyssey. You can use a decentralized desktop client. There's alternate clients that focus on other different types of content. And there's an ability to sort of make different versions of it if people desire.
Well, I mean, the decentralized part is something that a lot of people have been talking about for quite a while in order to like try and take the power out of the hands of just this handful of Silicon Valley billionaires who seem to just think that they are, the arbiters of what we can see and what we as the people, deserve or should see. Thankfully we have people looking out for us like that.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's because you'll see these people who want the sites to effectively perform more censorship. And I always wonder, like, these people don't trust Mark Zuckerberg in like any other context, right? We all watched the movie where he's like, this explicitly evil figure who's been like, calculating how to take advantage of all of us. And then like people want to turn over control over what they get to see to that person. Now, I think that's a minority, by the way. I want to say that I don't think most people want to do that. I think if you ask most people, who would you rather make choices for you about what you get to watch? Almost everyone says, well, I would like to decide. I don't want someone else to decide for me. And LBRY is definitely built with that principle in mind, that you, the publisher and the user, ought to be able to make the choices, and the ability for this middleman to control things is kind of diminished, which also reduces the leverage that, you know, governments and advertisers and all of these people can even put on us, because we don't have the same control that these other companies have. And that's also why we say that what we built is the successor to YouTube rather than just an alternative. So it's not just there, while there is this website that's very easy to use, I want to continue to emphasize that, odyssey.com, very easy to use. It's not just a clone. It's not just an alternative. It's something that's genuinely different and has the ability to build something better than what came before.
So why don't we get a little bit more into like the technical details here of what it consists of. So when you say, for a layman coming at this, for someone who's like fairly new to say blockchain or like decentralized networks, do you want to give us like an understanding of what you mean when you say it's like what it's doing, what publishing did, what would you say? Did the publishing what Bitcoin did to currency or money?
Yeah, absolutely. Although I want to continue to emphasize that at this point, I'm like now describing how the car works, and you don't need to know how your car works to get in and drive and experience the benefits of a car, right? So we have a very, very easy way to use it. You don't have to understand everything that I'm about to say, but to explain how it works, at the sort of lowest, most level of the LBRY network is a public blockchain. LBRY is its own blockchain. It's not built on top of Ethereum or Bitcoin or something like that. So it's a public blockchain. That public blockchain contains, in addition to account balances, the way that Bitcoin would, it contains an identity system. So you can create handles. Those handles can publish content, and those content records, but not the content itself, are also recorded on that blockchain. So we have this system that this blockchain is owned by no one, just like no one owns the Bitcoin blockchain. The blockchain is not owned by us, but anyone can interact with the blockchain, and the blockchain becomes this register of digital content that exists. It includes all of the metadata. So that's things like the title, who published it, the description, all of these other, tags, things like this. Included in that metadata is a pointer to a peer-to-peer network. Similar to kind of similar to BitTorrent, if your audience would be familiar with that. But LBRY is not the same type of content. On LBRY, you're going to find hundreds of thousands, millions maybe now of creators that are interested in this new kind of economy that we've built on the LBRY network. And so that's sort of the succinct definition of the blockchain, is that you've got this public blockchain, which contains all of the records about what's happening. And because it's a public blockchain, it has the same properties as Bitcoin, where your cryptocurrency wallet contains all of your keys to your channel, everything that you've published, all of the earnings that you've made on the network. It includes, in our case, all of your settings, all of the other channels that you're following. All of that's included in your cryptocurrency wallet. So that's something that you can take with you. You can use the local decentralized client that we don't have control over. You could port that into some other service that someone else has built. And that's part of why you're not locked into using just one way to interact with the network. But again, all that's complicated. Odyssey.com is the super easy way to use it. And you don't have to understand anything I said. A lot of people come on and use Odyssey and they don't even realize they're interacting with the blockchain. So if you have this, one of the things that we've really focused on is a lot of blockchain products are very complex. They feel hard to use. That is not the case with what we've built here.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, follow me on Twitter, or sign up to our mailing list. Thanks a lot to our sponsor, ExpressVPN, the #1 most trusted VPN. Get lightning fast connectivity with servers in 160 locations across 94 countries. Keep your browsing privacy safe with ExpressVPN and get a 35% discount on 12 months of ExpressVPN when you follow the link in the description below. Don't forget, my book is now out and available to order on Amazon and on bookshop.org. That's Brexit, the Establishment Civil War. And most importantly, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.